You are listening to I'm Refocused podcast with your host, Shemaya Reed. This podcast is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. Now, let's tune into today's podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to I Am Refocused podcast. Today, like you already know, it is Thursday. We are here with Rockafellas Barbershop, the owner, Rico Rodriguez. Man, if you want a nice haircut in San Antonio, make sure you stop by my boy's shop and please support those who support this podcast. Without him and his support, we would not be where we are today. Man, we have an awesome guest. Today, we have a motivational speaker, Mr. Nile Parker. And we're going to talk on the topic of leadership. And on the second half of the show, we're going to talk about community. Nile Parker, how are you doing today?
Very well. Thank you for asking. Very glad to be here this morning with you.
So before we get into today's topic, man, tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I'm many things. I'm a musician. I'm a singer. I'm actually working on a couple of books at this time, so a budding author, speak motivationally, I preach in church as well.
And what inspired you to do that kind of stuff, to be a motivational speaker, to preach, and to be into the arts of music? Well,
interestingly enough, my life's journey just kind of naturally bent me toward certain things, and I didn't know that I was necessarily just innately inclined to motivationally speak or to mentor. It just so happened that people would just come to me and ask me questions. And, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And the more you begin to share your thoughts, the more people begin to express interest in what you have to say, and then they tell other people, and then they tell some more people, and you end up, on a platform that you didn't even expect that you'd be on. I think the catalyst to everything that I do began with music. I was just naturally inspired to be into music, and I didn't know that I wanted to play at first. That just kind of ended up coming later. But around 11, 12 years old, I became very serious about being a piano player. I really wanted that very, very strongly. So my grandmother enrolled me in piano lessons at the age of 11. And so that blossomed within maybe 3 years into me playing for a church. And in the midst of playing for a church, the conversations began in terms of mentoring some years later, when, you begin having conversations about music and musicality and what's better, what's not, what to do to become proficient in your craft. And the Lord blessed me to become proficient very swiftly. As a result of that, other musicians will come along and say, well, how do I get like that? How do I do this? And then those conversations morphed into conversations about life and not just music. Then I began to develop more interest in people and not just music, which lent itself to leadership. And not just being a musician, that placed me in a position of authority over people. And when that demand was placed on my life, then I needed to begin to really search myself and really pray and really seek for more information, not just biblically. That's one facet of it. But there is a side of ministry that really doesn't have anything to do with just church, quote unquote. Yeah. You have to have an understanding of sociology, to really understand people better. And if you understand some background about people and then you apply, certain scriptures to it, that can help broaden your ability to be able to fully minister and not just say, this is what the Bible says, so and so and so, because everybody's not going to understand that realistically.
That's true.
There has to be something that you present to people on a level that they can understand before they graduate to the place where you can, try to help them obtain scriptural understanding.
I like what you just said about graduating to the next level. And speaking of leaders, you mentioned your grandmother. Who were the great leaders in your life when you were developing your craft and your gift and talents?
Interestingly enough, I've always been mentored by pastors. And I know that was strategic in terms of the guidance of my life, and knowing where I was going, what I was supposed to be. I was always mentored by other leaders, people who were where I needed to get to, even at times when I didn't know that I was going in that direction. They were just the guys that were in my life. So every pastor that I've served as a minister of music, as a musical director, has always been very hands-on with me. And their interest with me from the beginning, and each one of them had the same interest. They knew that it was necessary, even more than music, for them to help me craft a good, well-rounded sensibility about people and about leadership. Because you can be the best at your craft, but if you don't understand people, it'll fall apart every time. At the end of the day, before people can really fully appreciate your great musicality, they have to buy you as a person. Because nobody's going to follow you just because you're great at what you do.
True.
In fact, that can really be a hindrance. Because if people are put off by the fact that you're so great, and then you make them feel small when they already approached you feeling like you were so big, that will destroy your influence, and which will make it impossible for you to mobilize them. Leadership is about mobilizing people, about moving them from point A to point B. And you can't do that with just teaching them how to be proficient in a craft. You have to reach them on a human level. They have to buy into you. They have to believe in you. They have to believe that there's something behind what makes you great, that makes you worth following. And if they don't see that, or if you make them feel that it's inaccessible to them, then they'll back off from you and they won't follow you anywhere.
I like what you said about leading from one place to the next, because usually when you're in leadership and when you're following someone in leadership, they're taking you to a higher ground, a better place, a better situation, a better way of living. Touch on that from your experience, taking people from one level of way of thinking to the next level of thinking, where it allows them to make room for their gifts and purpose.
Well, first of all, you would have to alert them to the fact that there is something about them that was put there by He who made them that is far deeper than what they do externally, far deeper than what they would express at church or on any stage. In terms of any particular gift, like singing, playing music, or we'll just use music as an example. But one of the first things I do when I sit down to begin a relationship and mentoring people is to begin to have conversations not about music, but about life, and to try to get a sense of them, what their passions are. What are you interested in outside of this? After you close up your instrument, after you stop doing what you do, what is your sense of your own identity after that? Because I find that a lot of people are identified by just their gift and what people want from them. And they have no idea of what they're really supposed to be doing with their lives that will satisfy them. Because you can never just be satisfied by giving other people your gift.
That's true.
There has to be something that will feed you. So one of the first things I try to ascertain is, what is their sense of their own identity? And behind that, the overall purpose for me is to try to get them to see that the intent is that they're well-rounded, that you have something that you do that feeds other people, that blesses other people, and then you have something else that you do that is for yourself. Because if you don't have the other side that's just for you, what you give people, you will begin to despise that. Because you'll feel like, I'm giving away everything I am, and when I go home, there's nothing left for me. It will eventually make you hate what you give people. Which will then in turn cause you to have feelings of depression, want to forsake your very purpose in life, and you won't want to do it. It'll make you close in away from people. It'll make you draw back when you should be pouring out. So that's one of the things that I tend to deal with.
And touching on even more, finding your purpose. Without that, you won't know your identity. If you don't know, like you touched on earlier in the segment about passion, you can be passionate about the wrong things if you don't have someone leading you in the right direction.
Absolutely. So with that, in terms of mentoring, it's important to be with someone who has a vantage point above where you currently are.
Okay.
You can't be mentored by somebody on the same level as you, because y'all like each other.
It's true.
And one of the things that is very interesting about the way people tend to choose relationships, people tend to choose all types of relationships with people that they feel they have a lot in common with. And that's not going to be the most beneficial for you in any kind of relationship. And I'll give you two simple examples. If it were a romantic relationship and I meet a young lady and I want to decide, is this the one that I think I should marry and all that stuff like that? Wow, we have everything in common. We laugh at all the same jokes. We love all the same movies. We think all the same stuff is great. We think we hate all the same stuff. That's not what you want.
Yeah.
You must, if it's going to work out and be mutually beneficial, she must be strong where I'm weak. Mm-hmm. I must be strong where she is weak. Yeah. We must be one another's answer. Because if we have the same set of strengths and weaknesses, the scripture says this: the blind lead the blind right into a ditch. What are we going to do for one another? What are we going to add to one another's lives? You don't have anything to add to me if you have the same thing I have. You think the same way I think. Secondly, same thing with mentoring. You need somebody who is a reliable source of information, of insight, of wisdom, of understanding above where you are. Yeah. So that when you have questions, you have passionate issues inside you, and you need someone to help you make sense of it. You don't need somebody to say, man, wow, I understand. That's great. But tell me what you understand that I didn't understand when I came to you.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what will qualify you as someone who can be a mentor figure for me. So I would just encourage all of our listeners, if there's anyone out here listening to us have this conversation and you are grappling with some passion issues, be it something you really love or something you're very passionate against. Mind you, parenthetically, both of those can lead you in the direction of your passion. One of the things that I tell singers is this: you can be passionate. I'll put it this way. Choirs are made up of two different types of people. The ones passionate about singing, that love singing, love music. And the other ones that passionately hate when they hear the wrong thing. Oh, did you hear the altos today? They were awful. Oh, did you hear the lead? That is an indication you belong there. Yeah. And it's also an indication that you can hear something that other people don't hear, which means that you might be one of the ones that can be a help to what we're doing. Yeah. Because if you can see that it's a problem and it bothers you, that's an indication you belong in that field. Now, I don't want anybody to be intimidated by the aforementioned statement in that it means because you're passionate about one thing, you can't be passionate about something else. We are all multifaceted. Yeah. We're all made with several gifts. None of us just have one thing. We're all many things. And we're made like crystals or diamonds, in that if you hold that thing up to the light and you turn it, you'll see a different color based upon the vantage point you have. All of us are made just like that. Turn in any direction and you should find something different. Yeah. None of us are one-dimensional. So when it comes to the interest of passion, it doesn't have to be one thing, but you should try to align yourself with someone who can help you to identify what those things are. Yeah. And it has to be somebody who can see what you don't see. And you may not even like everything they say all the time, and you're not supposed to. One of the good indications of a great teacher is when they make the students upset because of the work. Yeah. If you are intimidated by that test, that's a good thing, because you don't grow without being challenged.
You just said what I was thinking in my head right now. Just now, I was just thinking leadership also requires development, which Absolutely. Means if it's not stretching you, there's something wrong with that.
It's funny you bring up development. I had to speak last night in Killeen, Texas, and the subject matter that they asked me to deal with was development, interestingly enough. And one of the things that I share with the people is most times people are looking for what they would consider the most ideal context to learn in. It needs to be comfortable and quiet and serene and have to be happy and nobody's bothering me and no bad kids and no noises and no annoyances whatsoever. Everything around me must be conducive in order for me to learn. But that is not the way in which we are developed. And I want to give you a couple of examples that I gave the people last night. Seeds are always developed in darkness. You sow a seed into the darkness of the soil, and it's developed there. And as it's being developed, watch this, the roots grow downward first.
Yeah.
So just because everybody doesn't see your development and is not there to validate what's happening in your life doesn't mean it's not happening.
That's good.
Because your roots are growing downward first. And the bigger the tree is destined to be, the deeper the roots have to go first.
Yeah.
So it's going to take longer because what you are destined to produce is greater.
Yeah.
So no, nobody's going to see it at first. It's going to take a while. Second thing is this. A father sows seed into the would-be mother. It incubates in her womb until the full term of maturation, 9 months. Okay? And it's incubated in her womb in darkness. Okay? Then the baby comes forth. And in the event that it comes forth prematurely, thank God that scientists have been graced with the intellect to create a simulated womb that we call an incubator. And in that incubator, the climate is perfectly controlled. Everybody can't touch the baby. So for all of the people listening to us having this conversation, I want you to know that you must not fret because you feel like you don't have a lot of friends around. Maybe you're in a season that everybody's not supposed to touch you.
That's good.
Maybe greatness is being incubated inside you, and you're not to be touched right through here. Maybe the relationships that you would love to have are not for this season of life, but for later. The people who are going to be shaded by the tree that you produce out of your ground. Okay?
Wow.
Third thing is this. A duck, a chicken, or whatever, produces eggs, and then they sit on them. They don't see the light of day till it's time. They sit under the weight and the darkness of the mother who sits there to protect their process.
That's good.
So their process is being protected all the while by she who birthed them. So those that believe in God, it's his design, it's his form, it's his strategy to sit on you, and you may feel weighted down. Life is just so heavy. That is not an indication for you to try to get rid of stuff so you can feel lighter. No, sit under that weight. The darkness is not to make you flee or to make you lose your mind, make you upset. No. Sit under the protection of your process. Because in due season, you're going to crack forth. And then there will no longer be a need for that. That need is temporary. The womb is temporary. The soil incubating seed is temporary. All of this is temporary. Now, it won't feel like that. But that's why, going back to mentors, you would need somebody to come in and say, listen, this is what that is. Mentors come into your life when God sends them to help you to properly define what you're seeing. Yeah. So when you come to them and say, look, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing that, and I don't know what to do with it, then they can say, okay, this is that, that's the other, and that's this. And this is what you do about 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
This is what you do not do with 1, 2, 3.
And that's important, what you do not do.
Absolutely.
Because what you do not do, if you try to do it, you might abort the whole game plan.
And let's just be honest. Let's go all the way there. Some people, in terms of the abortion of their process, are aborting their very own lives. Yeah. Because they don't have those questions answered. The suicide rate is going up, up, up. And even in the church,
Yeah.
Because it just boils down to this. People don't know how to rightly define what they're seeing. Mm-hmm. And so they're grappling with depression. Now, mind you, there's several kinds, but I'm not necessarily talking about clinical depression, mm-hmm. that which is dealt with by medication. Yeah. Some people are just made like that. I don't mean that. I mean situational depression. Yeah. Where you go through certain situations, you don't know what to do with it, and it's weighing down on your heart, and you feel like the only way to rest your person is to lay down and not get back up.
Wow.
What if the difference is somebody coming along saying, that's what this really is, and what you're experiencing is temporary? Mm-hmm. It's not always going to feel like that, but you need to finish the course you're on and go through it. What if you knew that the way you were feeling in your heart that you desperately want to get away from is just temporary, because eventually you're going to come to somebody else dealing with the same thing. Yeah. And your assignment in life is to deal with people who have or are dealing with what you just came through.
Yeah.
What if the rest of your life, the progress of it, the success of it is contingent upon you successfully getting through where you are, the worst time of your life today? The answer is not to cut your wrist or to inhale carbon monoxide or take too many pills or drink yourself to death or drive your car off a cliff. What if it's to go through? Because somebody's depending on you and waiting on you to get to the other side of what you're experiencing so you can show them how to get through theirs.
Man, that's a perfect segue into the next segment when we're going to talk about community.
Okay.
Because what you just said is very true to the core, that our pain is somebody's medicine. Mm-hmm. And if you make it, you didn't just make it on accident. Mm-hmm. You made it for a specific person. Mm-hmm. You may not know till later in life. Mm-hmm. But man, we're going to take a quick break and we're going right back with this. We're talking to Nile Parker, a motivational speaker, a musician. He talks to churches, and we're going to find out some more stuff that he does that you guys can have an opportunity to connect with him, you know. And if you want to ask him to come to your church here in local San Antonio, I'm sure you probably travel.
Or to anywhere else
in the world, you know. We're going to have that information for you in the second half, so don't touch that smart device. We will be right back.
Welcome to Rockafellas Barbershop. This is the day that the Lord has made, and I will be blessed and be glad in Him. Today I want to introduce myself. My name is Rico Rodriguez at Rockafellas Barbershop here in San Antonio, Texas, 1733 Babcock Rd. My phone number is 210-782-5188. And again, we do walk-ins on Sundays. You are listening to I Am Refocused podcast on iHeartradio. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.
Does your website need more traffic? Well, visit overflowcafe.com today. They make websites popular, and over 41,000 people use their service to gain more customers. They are winning at business. What about you? Visit overflowcafe.com today.
Hey guys, welcome back. This is I Am Refocused podcast. We are still here talking to Nile Parker. Man, during the break, we were talking about dreams and we were talking about goals. And I just want to have you take the floor real quick and say to the audience what you was just telling me about dreams and goals and what happens when people go for it.
Okay, so we were talking about dreams, and what came to my mind initially was the fact that in the first level of thinking, when people think about what they want to do with their lives and they have these, wonderful dreams, lofty aspirations, they only consider it on the first level, what it will do for me, what it can do for the people that I love and care about, which is wonderful. But they never really ascend into the second, third, fourth, fifth level effects of what that's really supposed to be about. And what I was about to say is that people are made like bees. We were made to cross-pollinate. You know, we're all made to touch on some of the same things together and all be conjoined together, working toward one goal. You know, one huge set of bees working together to create a hive, to fill it with substance, because the expectation is somebody's going to eat on that. You know, the point I was making in that is that if your dream and your aspirations are not pursued with an intention to do more than just you and the people that you currently know, it will never be fulfilling to you. There has to be some sense of responsibility to pour something into a community around you and know that when you go out, you can make a list of the things that your dream feeds. Not just yourself and not just your family, but who out there that you don't know is being affected by what you love doing. Consider that. One of the things that I'd like to share this. I was on Facebook the other day, and I'm Facebook friends with a rapper from Austin, and he had made a video, and he had like a stack of $100 bills, and he was throwing them all on the floor one by one in his bathroom or something. And so I messaged him, and I said, what is that supposed to do for somebody that watches that? What are you proving by doing that? What message are you trying to send to me, being a watcher? He said, well, what do you know, what's your problem? What are you trying to say? I said, I don't have a problem. I just want to challenge you as a grown man and a man with all of this stack of money. If you knew that you had a responsibility that came with every one of those $100 bills, what would you do with it? What is it about? Because if it's only about you playing with money and throwing it on the floor, your life is worthless. You're doing nothing with that platform. So who's it for? Who do you intend to change with that platform? Whose life do you intend to enhance, either with that money or with that platform that you're on? And if it's nothing, you're wasting your time, and your life will be worth nothing when you finish your career. So to all of the listeners, consider not to necessarily pull your dreams out of the sky, but if they stay in the sky, how many people can that thing provide light for? Consider your dream is like a sun up in the sky. Whose world is it supposed to brighten? Wow. Whose ground is it supposed to feed by photosynthesis? How many flowers is it supposed to feed on the ground? How much grass is it supposed to bring forth because of its life-giving source? And if it's not, what is it there for? The sun doesn't need to just be there for me. Everybody needs it. Yeah. So consider, if your dreams are like that, how many people can benefit from that one dream? You'll only really be fulfilled if you know that that's what it's there for.
That's true, man. And speak on that, and also the community and environments. What are some of the things that can hinder a person from being a better leader?
I don't want to miss the bus.
Bad perspective. Bad perspective.
That was a timing word.
Lack of wisdom.
In my son,
you know, not understanding people.
Yeah.
Not rightly defining where people are. You know? Yeah. Because that will hamper your ability to communicate well. It will hamper your ability to connect well with people. If there's no understanding between us, then there's no mobilization for us.
Ooh, that's good.
You know? Vision is about fishing. It's like casting a line. Okay? If the fish in the water don't believe that's what that is, they're not biting. That's and if they don't bite, they're not going with you.
Oh, man.
They're only coming with you to your boat if they believe what you put in the water is real. People are exactly the same way.
That's pretty good right there, yeah.
If a leader cannot cast and make the hearer believe, If what they say does not become flesh to the hearer that they can grab onto and sink their teeth in and say, yes, I believe that, you will not be able to mobilize them. And I don't just mean from one city to another or anything like that. Mobilize their thinking.
Yeah.
Make them know, okay, where I am is okay. You don't have to beat them up for your thinking on a third grade level. You don't have to beat them up.
Yeah.
Just say you're on third grade, but I'm calling you to the fifth grade now.
I like that call. Yeah.
Yeah.
Answering the call.
Just come over here.
Yeah.
You know, what you did was fine. But if you stay there, what you're going to find out is this time next year, you're going to be frustrated with yourself because you're going to be surrounded with other kids that are 7 years old, and you won't be able to fit in that desk. Now you're going to be frustrated. You ever sat in a chair that you didn't fit in and it just didn't feel right? You just can't.
What you just saying right now makes me think someone outgrown their space.
Absolutely.
And it's time for you to go to the next level.
Yeah, now, check this out. One of the things that holds people to those spaces is their friends. Back to community, because we're still talking about community. When there is a fear of progress, when there's a fear of growth, because you don't know who's going to be there when you get there. But you have to trust that, yes, there are some people that will go with you. There are some people that will not go with you. But for the people who cannot go, there's always replacement up there.
Oh, yeah.
You'll meet new people. And I would even venture to say this. For the people who don't belong in your next place that you're dragging there, when you finally get acclimated to where you're going, you won't want them there. Nobody that's in the 12th grade has a substantive conversation about physics with somebody in the 3rd grade.
Yeah.
It will annoy you.
Yes.
So for all of our listeners today, think about all your conversations. Take an honest stock of your friendships. Which conversations annoy you?
Yeah.
And I'll give you a good clue. Your mind has now progressed. You have matriculated now. You've come to another level. Now your conversations have changed. Who in your life is still talking about the stuff that was cool 2 years ago? Who's still laughing at the jokes that you thought were funny 3 years ago, but you don't think are funny anymore? Tell yourself the truth. Be honest about that.
And who's still comfortable? Because it's...
Brother, listen, last thing I'll say on that is this, because, you know, people love to say, oh, it's about loyalty, and someone has been loyal. I learned something just recently. This is what occurred to me. This insight, this wisdom came in my spirit, and I'll share it with you all. Loyalty is a great incarcerator. Loyalty is a jail.
Dang.
Loyalty is a warden, a prison warden. And if you don't check loyalty, it will keep you incarcerated in a relationship you no longer belong in.
Wow.
Now, I'll give you this last example about that. You're in jail, and somebody's been loyal to you, your cellmate. Your release date is November the 30th of 2018. Theirs is November 30th of 2079. You gonna let that loyalty keep you in there? Or do you want to be free?
That's good.
You have to make a decision.
Wow.
Because the rest of your life depends on this one moment of decision. Do I want my life or do I want my history?
That's good right there. Because maybe someone's listening right now and they're thinking, all right, I got to make a choice. Because what you just said is true. You have this moment, and after this moment, it's gone. And if you don't choose today what you want to do with your life, who you want to be around in your life, who you want to talk to, start a business, work your way up the ladder in your corporate world, it's all by choice. You don't just wake up one day and get that job promotion. We don't just wake up that one day and we have a building. We don't wake up one day and we're traveling speaking. it's a choice, and each choice takes different steps. So action is, like you said earlier in this segment, being called to something, but how you respond and the consistency of you responding to that call. Because a lot of times people think you just respond today, you're good for the rest of the year. You gotta respond every day, even when you don't feel like responding. Touch on that.
Well, I'd like to say a couple things about that. First of all, when you're talking about responding, you must consider who's calling. So I'll say two things about that. You are going to be called by your history, and you will also be called by your destiny. And you have to be able to rightly differentiate between the two. Okay? So either you're going to go backward or you're going to go forward. You will know what's forward. For all the people listening to us that are saying, well, how do I know the difference? You'll know when your destiny is calling, when it's above you. When it's people who are already in the place where you want to be. Those are the people you want to get around. Okay? And for those of you that are Christians, let me give you a scripture. The Bible says this, that your gift will make room for you and bring you before great men. Okay? So what does that mean? Your gift is now, with the real understanding of that scripture properly, your gift is a key. That's all. What is a key? A key is access. A key permits entrance. Okay? So when I take my key to my house and put it in the door, now mind you, that key has to be perfectly cut to fit that specific door. It won't work on any other door. Yeah. And nobody else's key will work at my house. Okay? So your gift has been given to you by God with the intention of an end in mind. He's already seen the end, and he knows what door he's sending you to, and he gives you a gift that he knows will give you access to that door. Now, the next part is this, and it will bring you before great men, second clause. So the gift is only the key. That's it. It will give you access. Now, when you go in the room, there will already be men there waiting. They'll be there before you get there. And that's the beautiful part. Because the fact that they're already there means you're not walking into a classroom devoid of a teacher. If there were no men, no great men in the room, and Bob calls them great, which means they are already learned. They are already prepared. They have already graduated. They have already been where you're trying to go. They are prepared to teach you what it's going to take to get you from the door that you just came in to where they are in life. So when you walk in the room, it won't be bedlam like it is when you go to the 5th grade classroom and the teacher steps out and the kids act the fool. Yeah. It's not foolishness in that room. It's great men in there. You go in there and everything you're going to need, you can be confident because they're great. Everything you need to become what you're supposed to be is in that room. And all it took was something that was already inside you. Which means, last thing I'll say on that is this, you don't ever have to worry about trying to be like somebody else. You don't have to copy somebody else's personality. Yeah. So, about that, this whole hip-hop generation trips me out. Now, you mean to tell me everybody dresses the same? Everybody talks exactly the same? Everybody's got the same hand movements? Seriously? Everybody wants the same type of jewelry? Everybody wants the same kind of coat, the same cars. Those are all people who don't know who they are. Because it's evidenced by the fact that they take on somebody else's personality because they don't even know their own. And I'm suggesting to you that in the absence of your own truth, you will gravitate to the truth of whatever looks the best and be that. So I'm saying that because there are undoubtedly some people who are in a category where they haven't known who they were. So all they've done up until this point was try to look like whatever else they thought was cool.
True.
And it's okay to break away from that and say, you know what, I'm going to dedicate the rest of this year to searching myself. Because people oftentimes spend so much time searching other people. Date yourself. Take yourself out to eat. Inquire as to what is in my own heart. What do I like? Not what I pretend to like so other people can like me.
Yeah.
Not what music do I pretend to love because the people I want to hang around love that.
True.
No, what's really in me? We're all, I keep saying last thing I'll say, but I promise this is, we're all made like mines, caves, full of gems and jewels. Somebody's got to go in there and dig that stuff out. It's a laborious process. But the wealth that what's in the mine represents will wash away all the labor. It'll make all the labor worth it. So to everybody listening, dig into the mine that is your heart. There's precious gems and jewels, gifts and passions in there that have yet to be unlocked. Take your time by yourself. Don't be afraid to be alone. Get alone by yourself and dig into yourself. And you'll be surprised what's inside you. It will be worth it.
That's very true, because all this connects, all these dots, all these bullet points, they all can connect to the main message that we've been talking today about leadership and community. Because leadership is lead. So when it comes to taking the lead, you got to have someone to help you. In other words, someone who can pull you up to the next level. Someone, like you said earlier in the show, who's been there, experienced. They know all the troubles, the hard times in life that where you might be going through trying to find yourself. They already been through that very thing. Right. And they know, like we talk about consistency, they know what it feels like where you're on the fence. I'm going to just stop. I'm going to give up. Life ain't supposed to be like this. This is not fair. Because we all play the victim. We play that violin real good. You know, I used to play the violin so well, I can play by ear. I didn't need no sheet music. But in all seriousness, we need to put that violin down and listen to somebody who means well and wants to call us to a greater good. And that purpose in our life, it's almost like we just put it on a shelf sometimes. Because we're like, it's almost like you read a book, the first page, and you say, it's boring, I'm going to close it, but you miss the best chapters later on in that book. That's kind of what we do with our life sometimes. Absolutely. When we get stuck, it's because we close it and say, I quit. But you did get to the 20th chapter where there's a big boom. You know, there's something amazing that happened, but you never got there because you stopped too early. So before we wrap this show up, I'm going to let you have the floor and just talk to the audience just to wrap this up today.
Okay. Well, I'll just tag on to what you were just saying. Sometimes we become fascinated with other people's products. But real farmers are not fascinated by the harvest. They love seeds. Okay? So don't discount yourself because of where you are in your maturation process. You have not matriculated yet to the end result. But that doesn't mean that you're not on the way. Don't be so fascinated by the fact that somebody has already completed theirs that you think that what you are doing is unworthy of completion. You are worthy of your own investment. You are worthy of your own time. You're worthy of your own money. You're worthy of your own effort. In this consumer-driven society, in our communities, we're so accustomed to being the consumer and buying other people's stuff and studying other people's products that we never really invest the time in our own selves. And what if your product is better than what you're buying?
Wow.
Consider that.
That's good.
It just takes a little more time. And I want to tell everybody listening, you're worth the time. Spend some of it on yourself. And if you're not sure where to start with your words. Last thing I'll say on that is this. The power of death and life is in your tongue.
That's true.
You have the power to speak life to your own process.
Whatever you think.
To your own situation. Stop spending the currency of your mouth on everything else except yourself.
Wow.
If your words were like money, how careful would you be how you spend them? Spend those words on yourself and watch how every time you speak out of your mouth, your words will be like train tracks going out before you.
Wow.
To mobilize you toward what you have spoken over your own life. Speak over yourself and watch it happen just like you said.
That's really good because that's for all walks of life. It doesn't matter you working at Burger King or you own Burger King.
Yeah.
The same concept remains the same. You make a choice to make today the best day. And when you do that, you're going to have some rainy days.
Absolutely.
You're going to have some bad days.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, you're going to have a bad day. It might happen next month. It might happen tomorrow. Mm-hmm. It might happen 5 minutes from now. But it's how you deal with it that matters.
Absolutely.
It's not if it comes or it don't come. It's going to come.
Mm-hmm.
But it's how you deal with it.
Yes, sir.
So once again, I want to thank you now, Parker, for being on the show, man.
My pleasure.
I'm going to have to bring you back.
Love to come back.
Because what you said is needed. Mm-hmm. And we need people who can speak on certain topics that I would say it releases people to be great. Because like you said earlier in the show, we get in these prisons where we outgrow our space. And most of it is due because we're not making the choice to surround ourselves with better people who can pull us to the next level.
Yes, sir.
So on that, because we can rap for another 2 hours, I'm going to have to wrap up the show. But like we say every single Thursday, man, keep God first, stay focused, and peace.